Someone said in the forums this would be a very interesting Nosgoth News Network this week. They weren't kidding. Hello and welcome to Nosgoth News Network with me, Basilim. Very, very interesting week. So let's start off with the big R word, rumours. Now, many of you don't know whether you've been around the fandom that long to know my policy on rumours. But let's just say, between the years of 2017 and 2022, when the Embracer purchase happened, there were no fewer than 2 rumours every single year. None of them ever came to fruition. And, in fact, the moment you started poking into them and investigating them, they always fell apart pretty quickly. But by then the hype train had bolted, and it was going around and round the world. The Bluepoint rumour of 2020 kept going on for years and years afterwards, and every single little thing was bolted onto that as if it was proof. But nothing ever came of it. So please, you don't need me to tell you what's been happening. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. You probably clicked on it 3 times before you got to me. But let's be brutally honest. These things have a habit of getting away with themselves. There are 1,000 perfectly logical explanations that will not have even got out of bed before people were screaming it in the night. So, I said before, breathe, calm, and let's focus on what we actually definitely have. And continue. So, in the last Nosgoth News Network, I was talking about the graphic novel, Soul Reaver the Dead Shall Rise. That has got an upcoming Kickstarter campaign that will be starting soon. Now, almost immediately after I put out the last video, then there was another piece done on that, with some more exclusive information. And what they did was they dropped the cover art of that by Dave Raposa, and some interesting tidbits. Now I'll put that up so that everyone can see. It's got some very, very interesting stuff in there. Obviously the art style looks gorgeous. We can see what must be the new protagonist. Seems to be a female vampire. In the bottom left there, renditions of Kain, Seraphan Raziel, and in the back there, Wraith Raziel. Now, as any X-Men fan will tell you, just because Wolverine's on the cover doesn't mean that Wolverine's in the book. So these could just be artistic elements to lure us in. We don't really have any direction on what the story will have in it. Who will be in it, what it will be dealing with, apart from the very sort of vague details that it will cover the background of Raziel and Kain, and that it will be a prequel to Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. So there's a lot of marketing kicking up about that recently. In fact, if you're looking at the very, very, very background and the scenery there, you might be able to spot the location that is there. That seems to be the bridge across the Lake of the Dead, if you're paying attention. But then again, like I say, that doesn't necessarily mean that will be in the comic. It just means it's a nice background to catch your attention. So the marketing machine has begun kicking up over that. There were words that there might be a digital image from the Soul Reaver archives for people who signed up for that. And we've got Crystal Dynamics providing creative direction as confirmed there. Lots of potential stuff going on in the background there that would be very, very interesting to see. So can't wait to see where things go from there. There are no official word yet as to when that will be kickstarting, when that will be coming out. But that is something tangible that's going on in the franchise. Now, the other thing it mentioned there was that it will have inside the comic concept art by series artist Daniel Kabuko. As many of you will know, Daniel started off as an artist in Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver and grew through the franchise. He was actually art director by the time Legacy of Kain Defiance came around. So Dan knows his way around the franchise quite well. He's been one of the more vocal developers in the franchise in assisting us in understanding what was going on behind the scenes and filling in little gaps in information. He's been an incredible talent over the years, an incredible source of information. Now, he is involved in the comic in some fashion, as we can see, but there is a little caveat here. It seems Daniel was, until fairly recently, employed by Riot Games, and unfortunately was a victim of the contraction of the industry. Happily, though, now he has found a new position. He's now working at Obsidian Entertainment, as he announced in the last week or so. So we wish him well in all his endeavours there. Obviously, maybe not the dream reunion that some were hoping for, but it is great to see that he's landed on his feet and got himself a new position. All the best to you, Dan. You're an inspiration for us. So obviously the first thing that Dan did after he had finished his development of the Legacy of Kain games was he moved on to Tomb Raider. So in an excellent segue, I think I'll move on to Tomb Raider as well briefly, just to mention that the last Legacy of Kain Easter eggs in Tomb Raider Remastered have now been uncovered. I know I said that last time, but then another one cropped up. I am reliably informed that this is the last Easter egg in Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered there at the moment. So what it was in the Barkang Monastery level of Tomb Raider 2, there is a mural that was replaced in the new textures, and in those new textures in the corners were 4 Melkahim symbols. Now, part of the reason that one got away for so long is, of course, because the Melkahim symbol actually does resemble Tibetan script. Specifically, I think it's the Nya character. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that terribly, but yeah, little sort of 3 with a dot in the corner. That looks almost to have been the source of the original Melkahim symbol. So that one got away for quite a while. And just personally, I'm now approaching the end of my my playthrough of Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered. I have been told on a few occasions to hold off for patches, and obviously I don't have the time that I once had. So I'm now sort of approaching the end, comfortably exceeding 100 hours in all 3 games. It's strange to say how my opinions on it have changed since I've grown. Obviously, I grew up with these as a kid. They were games that were played with the family, and the control pad passed around. Tomb Raider 1, absolutely spot on as I remember it. Still a perfect game. I loved it, every second of it. Strange how much of my memory picked up on it and was just like, yes, here's a rewarding little bit of nostalgia that you didn't realise you'd remembered. Very interesting how that triggered. I'd not played the expansions on any of these before, so I can comfortably say that whoever designed the expansion packs for Tomb Raider 1, you are an absolute sadist. I hate you with a passion. You make Vorodor look like a small child with a piece of candy. Honestly, the Atlantean levels are hell. Oh. Egyptian levels, really good. The Atlantean levels, horrible. So, fun with that. Tomb Raider 2, Worse than I remembered it. I always remember thinking that was an even better sequel when I was a kid. Re-encountering it now, not as good as I remember. Primarily because every time you have a second to breathe, someone's firing a flamethrower at you. Quite irritating after a while. But yeah, I think that kind of brought it down a little bit to me. Again, I'd never played the expansions, so Tomb Raider 2 Golden Mask. It is Golden Mask, not Gold. Golden Mask. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really good, really breathtaking, really well done. Tomb Raider 3 was kind of the point I checked out on Tomb Raider as a kid. Got stuck somewhere and just got bored of it. And then the next year Soul Reaver came out, so I never looked back at Tomb Raider again because Tomb Raider just seemed old hat compared to Soul Reaver. And Soul Reaver did it so much better. But I can now go back to Tomb Raider 3 with new eyes, with a new experience, and say, you know what? I actually think that 3 is better than 2. I'm going to say it. Again, expansions, pretty good. Pretty good, yeah. The Lost Artifact is really, really interesting. And of course, the Lost Artifact has that last sort of Legacy of Kain Easter egg. Really enjoyed that one there. Just put that one up on the wiki, by the way, because I've obviously just got there. So I've popped that one up there. So the last one, if you missed what I said last time, there is a sketch of Raziel and Kain in the Lost Artifact on like a corkboard table in the library of Willard's lair. So look out for that one. So yeah, nicely finished my Tomb Raider expedition. So moving back onto Legacy of Kain. So next on the list is soundtracks. Now, the Legacy of Kain soundtracks are something that has only really been put out on one soundtrack CD that covered Soul Reaver 1 and Soul Reaver 2 years and years ago. And that was more of a promotional soundtrack. It didn't cover all of the tracks. So for years and years, people have been finding various ways to get all of the soundtrack variations from the games. Notably, Rainer has got what had been considered the definitive version, which was captured by essentially putting Raziel in a situation in a game. So to trigger combat danger, you put him in a danger situation in the right circumstances to trigger that event, and then hold it there, just so that variation plays out in its entirety, and record it while you're doing that. Now that was kind of the traditional best way to do it. Find all of the variations, hold them in that place, and record. It looks like there has been a sea change in that at the moment, as two fans called D-Dine and Salsagal have completely reworked that method and found a way to reverse engineer the soundtrack. So to essentially backsport it and make it play the individual sound bites as they would have been played in that game. So to make the game play it afresh and put all of the triggers in. So this, needless to say, is the absolute bomb of a way of doing it. It allows you to record every single different thing, even things that would not have been possible. So it's breathtaking in what it can do. I'll put the link in the description. We did share it earlier in the week, but needless to say, it's a 3-part YouTube video that is, the first part is 11 hours long. That's what the potential was for variations in the dynamic soundtrack. It is breathtaking. They say they're going to move on to Soul Reaver 2 next. Again, just to highlight for anyone that wasn't aware, Soul Reaver 2 does have a dynamic soundtrack. It's just that there are less variations that the game can trigger. So it will be interesting to see what variations they can pull out of that one. So we'll be look out for that. Still on the theme of soundtracks, if you were following some of the Soul Reaver reinterpretations over the last few years, you'll know the name Biodynamic. Now, Biodynamic was someone who put out They put out actually some Soul Reaver soundtrack reworkings a few years ago. New versions of those that really caught our attention to the extent that we used them for the Soul Reaver HD Remastered trailers a couple of years ago. So those have been well on the mind. Well, Biodynamic has come back in the last couple of weeks. It looks like they're now working on the Blood Omen soundtracks. So some reinterpretations of those coming out. It's really, really good work. Really impressive. If you know the Blood Omen soundtracks, look into those. It's amazing modern reworkings of those. Fantastic work by Biodynamic as always. So if you're still here, well done for making it towards the end of the video. Here's a little bit of a reward that no one seems to have noticed. All been so distracted by rumours and intangible gossip that they've not noticed what's actually been happening right under their noses. So, here's the thing. NoClip. Now, if you'll remember, NoClip did a Crystal Dynamics documentary a few years ago that caught the attention because it kind of ended on the all Legacy of Kain. Very interesting fandom. You ain't seen nothing yet. So Danny is back, and Danny of NoClip has been putting out videos over the last couple of weeks explaining their future plans. And one of their future plans, coming in the next month or so maybe, he did say just after the anniversary, is that they're going to be doing a Legacy of Kain documentary. It will focus, it looks like, on Soul Reaver 1 and 2, and they'll be doing a lot of features on Crystal Dynamics staff, past and present. There will be fan community introductions there, explanations, all sorts of people involved. He's really called it a call to action. A rallying cry for the series to kind of boot it forward and get it moving. So that looks like that will be very interesting. A lot of stuff, no doubt, to cover there. And one of the things he mentions that's very interesting for someone like me is the word archive. Now, Danny specifically cited that he's been given an archive by Crystal Dynamics of, quote, terabytes of information. Now, in 2024, terabytes doesn't sound like a lot. You've got that in your computer at home. It's not massive. But remember, this is not 2024 terabytes. This is 1999 terabytes. 1999 worked in megabytes, not gigabytes, megs. And that's terabytes worth of information. Can you imagine how much information there will be on those things? Danny himself says, and again, quote, a shit ton of material that's never been seen before. I salivate at the mere prospect of what could be on those things, especially since NoClip are doing archives at the moment of various stuff. They've got a huge cache that they're still working through. Well, it looks like Crystal Dynamics has contributed a massive amount to that cache, all to do with Legacy of Kain and related properties. So it's going to be very interesting, the cut content, the other stuff that we've never seen before that comes out in the next few weeks, months, years. It's going to be amazing to see. One of the things he has specifically mentioned in those streams is that there are audition tapes from the Legacy of Kain games. And those audition tapes include some quite famous names. So we have Mark Hamill. Yes, Luke Skywalker, the Joker, auditioned for Legacy of Kain. The other one, Robert Picardo, the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager, auditioned for Legacy of Kain. the mind boggles at the alternative universes where you have some of Hollywood's greatest actors in Legacy of Kain games. Not to say that we don't already have some of the greatest actors in Legacy of Kain games, but it's so impressive, the things that could be in there, that could be coming out soon. I can't wait to see it. So, as we said before, very interesting time to be a Legacy of Kain fan. Rumours aside, there's a lot on the horizon, so we can only wait to see what will come in the next few weeks and months. As I say, we are about 3 weeks away, as it stands, from Soul Reaver's 25th anniversary. Let's see what comes there, and for the rest of the year, it's going to be very interesting. I hope to see you all on the journey. Until then, that's all from me. See you guys next time, and until then, Ve Victus. As I say, it's about 3 weeks now from the 25th anniversary of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Can't wait to see what they've got brewing up for us. I need a new cookbook.